Hi, I'm Susan Kennard, and welcome to the Spiritual Awakener podcast. This is a podcast where I get to interview really cool people that have had lives just like you and I, where we've bumbled along, done the things we need to do, but we've had moments where we've had an awakening moment, or we've had a turning point, or something significant has happened that has allowed us to realize that we're so much more than we thought we were. Have a listen to my next guest. He's so interesting. He's a bit like me. He likes the science of things, but he's also incredibly spiritual. So you're going to get the best of both worlds today as you listen to my dear friend and colleague, Stanley. Stanley, welcome to the Spiritual Awakener. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Susan. It's an honor to be here and to collaborate with you again. So thank you.
Yeah, it's great. Well, we met each other because I think I might have seen something flash up in my LinkedIn box, and I very rarely reply to any of those messages where people invite me to do something, but something drew me to you. Obviously, universe drew me to you, and something made me realize that I needed to connect with you. And that was 6 months ago, was it? Or was it a bit longer? I don't know. Maybe it was.
Yes, it was in early April, so just about 6-7 months.
Yeah, sure. And I was going through another awakening where I realized that actually I needed to align more fully to my numbers. And what Stanley does is numerology, but numerology with a completely different slant. So you're going to love this call. You're going to love this interview. And I really want you to listen with an open heart, an open mind, and just really listen to what you might gain from this, because we're going to have so much fun. So, Stanley, tell us about you. What do you feel was that awakening moment that led you to do this? Because you don't come out of the womb and go, oh, I'm just going to work with numbers. Well, maybe you do, but tell us.
So in 1985, I was in 5th grade, and I remember I was doing my maths tables, and I kept that they had quizzes, and I was extremely fast and kept beating the students, and then I went against the teacher and I beat her, and so I had speed with maths, but I didn't foresee the numerological aspect of it until initially in the year 2000, when I began seeking in relations to further betterment with real estate and marketing and going to different seminars. But I began to, at that actual first seminar in the year 2000, I seen people breaking arrows with their throats and bending steel rods with the throat. So I began to understand what can the human mind do? What's the psychology behind a person to break through fear barriers? And one thing led to another, and it led me down the path of numerology and astrology. And I was fascinated by its accuracy and the different modalities from different teachings of different methods. And so that will probably be those two key spiritual awakenings in 1985 and then in the year 2000. And over the 20 years, I've been seeking feverishly like a child, and created the ESP code, the Essence Soul Purpose Code Numerology, in December 2011. Founded Zen of Culture.
You created the what code, just so people can hear. You speak really fast. As your maths is very fast, you speak really quickly. So slow it down.
No problem. The ESP code, Essence, Soul, and Purpose, and then founded Zen of Culture in September 2012. So I've been fine-tuning this methodology, if you will, for close to 9 years, and everything happens with 9-year cycles. And I had my own Swami also that I had learned from 3 or 4 years prior, because we were fine-tuning the biorhythms of the cycles, if you will, in the financial markets.
Wow.
So I seen the practicality side of things of what the code could do, and I formulated my own method with a 4-numbered sequence code, hence the ESP code.
Wow. So just with 4 numbers, you've got this formula. That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And we all have these 4 numbers. And the beautiful thing is, even just the first number, Susan, which is primarily synergized from the frequencies of the sun and moon, that forms our identity number. And when people understand their identity number, not only do they understand themselves better, they understand the people around them, whether it be in personal life or business life, and they can maximize their productivity and complement their weaknesses. It's extremely powerful wisdom. It's like what we do in your light code and I'm doing with the ESP code. It's basically tapping into our higher selves. And
so I know how you work, but if you sort of speak to my listeners here, do you use a combination of the astrological chart alongside the numbers?
Yeah, I have a paraphrase, if you will. Astrology is the science of God. Mathematics is the language of God. Numerology is the code of God.
Wow.
And when I'm really, when I'm channeling, thank you. So when I'm channeling, that's when my speed kicks in, because I start speaking very fast because I'm getting the wisdom come through.
Yeah.
So basically, it's based on ancient mathematics, predominantly Vedic mathematics, and it sort of sits, if you will, a tier above even the astrology side. But what I've managed to do with the code is just simplified how the planets in our solar system affect us, broken down to 4 numbers. So we don't quite have to understand the complexities of planets conjuncting or sextile or transiting. It's mainly just numbers, as the paraphrase, astrology, mathematics, and numbers.
Born, so if you were, just to take you back a bit, so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, how does this work? Is it when you're born? Is it when you're actually born? So that date, that time, that place, which we would normally do in astrology, you look at that, but you're not looking at perhaps the full the new supermoon, in Scorpio this week, for example, or Mars going direct, or you're not looking at that, no?
No, I look at it, but in terms of the code itself, I don't apply it, because the code formulates all the planets in our solar system that's constantly emitting these energies in our biorhythm. So it's basically just a sine wave. So, but I do know that certain planets and certain star signs are affected specifically with new moons and full moons, and that's our modality that we've learned, where we're looking at this is my zodiac sign. They affect, particularly water signs are affected by the moons. So that's not, it's beautiful science. But what I do is just purely numerical in terms of the numbers and the cycles. But of course, these supermoons obviously play an effect on all of us.
Yes.
And when people know their numbers, they know to maneuver even through that sometimes.
How exciting. Yeah. So we're recording this on the 12th of November. So we just had the 11/11 portal, but we're the 12th of November here, 2020. And we are just coming up to the new moon in Scorpio. And I believe it's a supermoon, actually. I think it is a supermoon. Right. So, because we've had 2, is that right? We've had 2 new moons this month, which makes it a supermoon. And so, Scorpio is a water sign, right? Is that right? Yeah. So
one of the 3 water signs, yes, with Cancer and Pisces.
So those people who are water signs may be feeling more of a shift going on with like the 11/11 yesterday and so on. I mean, if you're listening to this is going to go out today, but also if you're listening to this later on, we're going to have a new moon and a full moon every month. So feel into it. Feel, if you are a water sign, and what happens if you're an air sign? Does that get affected by the full moon, or which one?
I've found all of us now, we in the ether, if you will, are affected by new moon, full moons, but I've predominantly more the water signs, and specifically with the moon being the ruler of Cancer, the Cancerian signs.
Yeah.
And so...
And the tides, Stanley, the tides are affected by the moon. I live right by the sea here, and we can feel that. We can really feel that. We can see.
Oh no, definitely.
Yeah.
And the human brain is predominantly water. So hence where people go Looney Tune, quote unquote, during full moons, for example.
Or
so So and water is a conductor of energy. So water is extremely powerful in terms of how drinking good water, maintaining prayers, and just like what you do with your spiritual and meditation, it affects it affects our subatomic level, our atoms, and it all comes down to sound, frequency, and light. And so this is what the code is you're doing with your light codes.
I lost you. Reception's a little bit lost you a little bit there, Stanley, but we're okay. So Stanley, you've written a book, haven't you? It was a while ago, but you've written a book and it's still available on Amazon. What's it called?
Your Numbers, Your Journey, How the ESP Code Can Reveal Your Destiny. Wow. And it was written in 2013. It's funny because I may have maybe in a couple of years do another book, because I've got so much research that I've done, and
I feel that actually, when you were talking earlier, when I first started talking to you, I was getting this sense as you were talking that actually there was another one there. So listen in, guys, there'll be another one coming up. Mine will be out, his will be out. We'll be having new books out.
If I get into the rhythm, I managed to do it in 5 days with mind mapping. So you need lockdown mode to do it, though.
Well, we got a bit of that at the moment.
We do have a bit of that.
So Stanley, so how does it look? So people come to you. I mean, I know we're gonna have fun with this in a minute, which is great. So everyone's going to see how it actually works with my numbers. And obviously I've had this done before because that's how I met Stanley, but for you to understand how it works, and many of you listening to this know the kind of work I do. You know, I am known pretty much as a spiritual scientist, but essentially as somebody who helps people heal their trauma, awaken the light within, and allow themselves to create incredible lives living their mission, right? So if you listen to that and then listen to what he says when he does the numbers, then you can kind of see that hopefully I'm in 100% in track with my mission, and it will be really interesting to see what he says. So have a listen in. So yeah, Stanley, so if people are listening, what would you do? So they contact you, they have a session with you, and you said that you do a free discovery session for people.
Yeah, so in a 30-minute discovery session, it's a free session. We basically just go through some series of questions and see if they're open to the methodology of what the code is, and I briefly explain the code as well. And generally, people, it'll pique the curiosity where that fascination trigger will allow them to then either have a reading with me where I mind map notes. That's how I do my notes. I've been mind mapping for 10 years. And they can have 30, 45 or 60-minute sessions. But I also do 3-month and 12-month, what I call mathematical realignment. So just like an osteopath or a chiropractor will realign someone, they're connected to me for 3 and 12 months. And the reason why they are is they're going to see synchronicities that will literally blow their mind when they're connected. And I've also just recently, as of today, launching a 33-day connection to me, because I'm a master number 33. So I'm going that analogy. It's a little bit more of an affordable package for people to see. Once they have a 60-minute reading with me, they can ask me whatever they want, unlimited access on the fly, say through WhatsApp, specific questions, because they're going to see so many synchronicities unfold from the reading that we're going to do in that 60-minute session. And I
love that you do that, because occasionally I do message you and just say, can you just have a look at this for me? And that is really helpful, and it just supports us. So yeah, it's lovely. It's how I work with my clients as well. That sounds great. The 33 days, especially at the moment, I think I know this is evergreen, this recording and this interview, but at the moment, I've noticed that many people are trying to find their mission. They're awakening. They're realizing that, there's so much more for them, and that they are so much more than they thought they were. And so with that, just bear with me a second, just plug something in. So with that, they need this guidance. People need this guidance. And with this, sorry about that, with this guidance, they're able to navigate. And I think, you know, you're talking about mind maps, but, you know, if we do that, we can navigate through and feel supported. So I love the idea of that 33 days. That's amazing. It's amazing. Really
Awesome. I always love confirmation. So there you go. I've got confirmation
yeah.
from Susan on the, because I mean,
confirmation from the universe. Yeah.
Confirmation from the universe. Yes.
And it was the portal yesterday. So, you know, it's a perfect time. And how perfect that today was the day that essentially you launched it, this today or yesterday. And it was the day that we're speaking about it. So it was obviously, you know, when the right time is to launch things, right? Which is where we're going to go in a minute.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, and sometimes we get that feeling where you just get so much downloads of information where, you know, we as humans, we love to create. We're here to create. And just like you're saying, people right now are trying to find what they're meant to be doing in life. And
yeah,
it's like going back when we were 3, 4, or 5 years old. When a person's childlike and they add value from creativity and being happy, you know, it's pretty much irrelevant what's going on around us, because we're so much in the zone. And
that I call that mission. So I say that if you feel like you go to work, you're probably not on your mission. If you feel like you get up and you have fun, I mean, I pretty much have fun every day of my life doing the work that I do. I have to call it work because there's no other word for it. But mission is what I believe, the creativity flow you're talking about, that when you truly, truly feel joy from the work you do in the service that you are in, that is when you know you're on your mission, right?
Yeah, no, without a shadow of a doubt. And this is what, like, people like yourself and myself really want for people to have. And it's achievable. I mean, you know, throughout all of this that's going on on the earth right now, there's something beautiful that will manifest, and people just have to persevere and
allow it as well, Stanley. It's about allowing, isn't it? It's allowing that inner guidance, that true part of us that has the complete knowing that there is a great awakening happening. And this awakening has been happening for a long time. I mean, I would say from 2011, I would say from 2011, there was a massive awakening happening, but we just kind of played at it. And then I think now we've just been, so what I'm being shown in my vision is almost like the sea has parted. That's funny. The sea has parted and it's like, right, okay, do you trust that you can walk through the sea? This is what the guides are giving me now. Do you trust you can walk through the sea knowing that that sea is not going to drown you? That's a really good analogy, guys. I like that. Or do you stand there and go, oh my God, well, the sea's going to drown me. I better not go. I'll just stay here. Yeah, I like that analogy. But it is like that, isn't it? It's like trusting it.
A very good analogy. Like you said, the complete knowing. And it's funny how we see synchronicities in holographic views or parallel portals, if you will. Because I was actually just watching yesterday something on the feed, I think it was on my desktop, about Moses and parting of the sea. And like,
oh my God. Your guides are talking to my guides. That's what it is.
It's collective cosmic consciousness. We are all connected. And when people, that's what I teach with people. That's why they're connected for, say, 33 days, 3 months, and 12 months. They're going to see synchronicities. They're going to see how it unfolds in front of them through numbers. And that's how, what you said before, exactly, they maneuver.
And
it's all about
trust.
Yeah.
Because we are obviously soul having light, having a human expression experience, but we do have that human part of us where we need to have, well, I definitely do. We need to have evidence. So we need to see that feather on the floor. We need to see that, you know, that happened, or the parking space appeared, or whatever it is. And when we start to see that, we've got to be the observer, and I call it the witness of our life. But, you know, that observer, and we're saying, oh, okay, oh my goodness, yeah, the angels are with me. Let's say, just for a basic one, you know, the angels are with me when we see a feather, you know.
It's funny, like just a couple of weeks back, it was on a Saturday, it was last Saturday, the Saturday before, I had literally, I was just sitting on a chair in a suburb, just writing notes on my paper. I was thinking about something, and a feather literally dropped on my paper. And
See?
I thought, that's the angels talking. And it was actually funny
Exactly.
because you came in my mind, because I know you talk with the guys in these type of
Mm.
with animals or with signs and so forth. But I thought, man, it's amazing how in the ether the guides are always there. It's just that lifting of the veil is becoming thinner and thinner and thinner,
Yeah.
that people are going to start having more access to their psychic abilities and gifts, and they shouldn't be afraid of it. The whole idea is we are spiritual beings here experiencing this lifetime, and we have to mold our own Picasso.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah,
And
so
desire, you know, like it's also about what do you want. You know, I watched a really good film the weekend with my daughter, and it was called Dare to Dream, and it was you know, one of the secret ones, and it was incredible because it was a story of where one, you know, one family kind of were always lots of difficult things happened to them. I won't give it away in case you guys haven't listened to it, but and then it was a story of really like realizing that you can ask and it is given. And on my groups, I'm just like constantly saying this all the time. And my daughter sitting next to me, who's 13 in a couple of weeks, she reminded me in 12 days. She said, I'm 13 in 12 days, Mum. I'm like, she sat there and she went, Mum, this is exactly what you say, isn't it? I'm like, yes. And then she just laughed each time something came up. She was like, that's what you say, don't you? And I'm like, yes. And I was, you know, that's how you manifest. I said, look at what you manifest. You manifest so quickly, even quicker than me. These children do.
are the children, like the rainbow children, the crystal children, more that, you know, are even more newer, so to speak, from the indigo children. But going back on that movie, I actually seen it 2 months, 3 months ago. Like, even with Hollywood movies, there's a lot of secrets in Hollywood movies people just don't understand, because the powers that be from the dark agendas are emitting
Oh yeah,
what they're telling to Earth, because they don't want it to come
I
back to them.
agree.
So if people understand how to maneuver through the mocking that they do in movies,
Yeah.
because I actually discern movies, I break them down, and I've took notes. But that movie itself, because I was the first person to come about The Secret in Australia. I actually found it from a guy who was in high yield investment programming. He knew the editor. So I had the cut before it ever came into Australia. But that's very
Wow.
101. But that Hollywood movie that you're talking about, that is an actual very good movie. And Dare to
Dare
Dream.
to dream.
And
Yeah.
like, they need to make more movies like that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
but very good analogy in terms of, you know, manifesting and what's going on in the ether. So those type of because, you know, you see in that movie, there was no swearing, there was no killing, there was no, you
No,
know, it
I
was
can't watch
very
anything
good.
with killing. I literally can't watch anything with killing. I literally, I have to turn anything off, and I hardly ever watch TV now. I mean, to be honest, I definitely don't watch the news, but that's for 7 years I haven't watched the news. But it's, you know, I don't watch anything with killing. I really don't like it. It makes me feel very uncomfortable if I see anything like
It's
that.
it's
And on
probably
books as well, you know, books now. And obviously, you know, we write a book because we want to get a message out to the world. And the message out to the world is you have the power within you to actually create and transform. That's what I'm hoping my book will do. Out, Awaken the Light Within will do out in the world, awaken people's light, you know, that they already knew they had, they just forgot. And, you know, with you, with your numbers and your astrology, I mean, I love, you know, how much I love astrology anyway. But let's have fun with it. Let's have fun with it. Let's see, you know, what people can listen to, and they can see the relevance of how it might work in my numbers. And can you have a look at the best day for me to send my proposal in to the publisher?
yeah, no
Which
problem.
I'm editing at the moment.
So yeah, for your listeners, Susan,
Mm.
in terms of the 4-numbered sequence code in the ESP, all we need to know in its simplistic is the date of birth. We don't need to know the time of birth or location.
So that's different to astrology, isn't it? So just the date of birth. And sometimes people don't know their times, do they? You know, quite
They
often they
don't.
don't know their time. So this is good for people. It's just simple. So mine's 11/10/69, as you know, October.
So the 11th of October 1969. So your first number is your sun and moon. So if we take the 11, which is the sun, and 10 being the moon, if you add it together, 11 plus 10 is 21. You narrow down to a single digit, 2 plus 1 equals 3. So your identity number is a 3. So you will always be childlike. You will always be like wanting to seek and have fun. It's part of your innate nature as your identity number. So that first number is what we use when we're profiling also with people. So for example, I'm a 2, you're a 3, so we form a 5 frequency in our sine wave. So it's always going to be a very intellectual conversation. It can go fast and it can go many avenues. So just by knowing, just in a simplistic format, even if some people don't even know the year of birth, the day and month, they can maneuver practically and realign their soul's purpose just from that first number. But obviously when we have the full 4 numbers, we're getting a more holistic point of view in relation to the code. So the rest of the planets, in its simplistic point of view, Mercury to Pluto, is your year of birth. So if we go 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 9, we get 25. If we narrow down 2 plus 5 to a single digit, we get 7. So we know your identity is a 3, but your type of identity is a 7. So 7 is the spiritual number, and it's contemplation, it's meditation, and it's deep thinking. So you're like a spiritual, meditative, contemplation, fun type person, childlike.
And look at what I do. I have fun with my work, and I talk to the guys upstairs, you know, so I channel and, you know.
You do talk to those. And threes, by the way, also always look younger than they are. So probably it's about 10 years younger. So, and you definitely look younger than you are. So
51 now.
and that's very good. And so when people check their numerology on, say, calculators, they get the life path number or character. And that's just merely your identity and your type of identity. So now we're adding all the planets together. So in your case, 3 plus 7. So your identity is a 3, your type of identity is 7 equals 10. We narrow that down to a single digit. 1 plus 0 equals 1. So your life path is a 1. You excel when you're in your solitude time. You're most creative when you're in solitude time to get into that meditative, deep thinking, childlike wisdom. So you need your little bit of independence to allow your creativity to enhance.
Absolutely.
And as you've grown older also, because each number has specific cycles within themselves, we formulate our higher self number. So in your case, we now add your current 3 numbers. So we know your first numbers are 3, we know your second numbers are 7, and we know your third numbers are 1. So if we add that again, 3 plus 7 plus 1, we get 11. And we narrow that down to a single digit, 1 plus 1 equals 2. So your essence soul purpose number, your 2 is of the heart. 2 is of speaking, and is predominantly of like the Mother Mary energy. So basically,
she comes in and works with me. So she comes in and light language, through me, Mother Mary.
And
as
so,
one of them.
As one of them, so basically, that 2, your higher self number, your subconscious number, is always going to drive your other 3 numbers, being the 317. So your heart, the way you do things in terms of your work as a spiritual scientist, will get the messages that's needed for your clients and for your listeners, and how you formulate your 317 is always underpinned, if you will, from your higher self, which is the number 2 in your case. So your ESP code is 3712. So when you know that, and when people can be in the zone, so to speak, or in their knowing, or in their mission, like you're saying, they're much happier. So I remember in your biofeed also, with the arrows that you have the arrow of skepticism and the arrow of hypersensitivity. But you went through your skepticism from your younger ages to formulate yourself as a spiritual scientist. And that's what allowed you to, like what you said, like, you know how you want to validate? And also, if you're watching a movie where maybe some killings, that your hypersensitivity that you want, so you don't want to sort of, so that formulates some of the arrows that you have. But also, even though you don't have a 4 in your code, because 4s can be analytical, you're actually an earth rooster. And Earth Rooster in the Chinese is actually analytical and intelligence. So that complements very nicely with your 3712. So that sort of formulates a little bit of a summary of your code, if you will.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And it's so people can, they can find out their life path number, but they can't necessarily find out all of that information. So when you're thinking about electional stuff, I don't mean the elections, by the way. You're actually in Oz, aren't you? You're in Australia. Is that right?
Yeah, we're in Australia. Yeah, Sydney.
You're in Australia.
Australia.
Yeah, I'm in the UK, and I know that you've had lockdowns. We're in one at the moment. America's going through what they're going through. But when we're thinking about, if people really wanted to look at the election, meaning they were electing an aspect of time to something. So say, for example, you wanted to start a new business, or you wanted to take your work online, which a lot of people are doing at the moment. I feel very blessed that I already did that for the last 2.5 years. I've been predominantly online, which is really great, but many people haven't been. And so they're deciding now to go online. This is the kind of thing that I think people need. So could we look at how you would work out an electional time we can do it for me when I actually push the button and send my proposal into the publisher. We could look at that. It's definitely going to be this year. So could you show them how that would work in month by month?
Yeah, so with profiling with time, with cycles, the year takes precedence, then the month, then the day, then the hour, the minute, and the second.
So the year is the precedent. So the year is the part that says, right, this is really what you need to be looking at first. Yeah.
Yeah, and some people that have transitioned online may be doing it at a time when it's not in their best cycle.
Yes,
but they may have not had any choice because they were forced in lockdown in 2020, so they're forced to look at new things.
Yeah.
And then they may not have success in that, so then they feel bad. But again, it all goes down to cycles. So in relations with you, 2021, as you know, already started on the 15th of September 2020. So the Earth shifted from 2020 to 2021. So the Earth shifted from a 4-year, so 2 plus 0, yeah. 2 plus 0 equals 4, to 5, 2 plus 0, 2 plus 1 equals 5. So in relations to how things maneuver, when we look up with our naked eye, we see the two foremost planets being the sun and moon, just like in the yin and yang symbol. Mm-hmm. So think of the sun as a transmitter and the moon as a receiver in a radio, and it's a vortex of frequency. So that 3 number, your identity number, is how everyone around on Earth sees us in day and night. So your 3 with 5 being in 2021, which will have more power as 1st of Jan kicks in, but it's already kicked. You're forming an 8 in your cycle. Yeah. So you were in the 7, which was in 2020 was contemplation, the meditation stuff, doing what you got to do, the book's been plodding away. But in terms of launching it and having the 8 is of success from financial, but it can also be success from prosperity in terms of abundance, limitless. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be money. It could be success in terms of appraisal, from recognition from academics, for example, or it's so launch. Very good. So the timing of it, like, I'm not sure how close you are, because I know you're saying like next month, but even in November would be very good because it'll form a 5 with you, because November's a 2. So 5 is of the spirit, it's of the intellect, and it's of the internet, because 5 is the internet. Is the book you're doing online or offline?
It will be offline. It will be a book and audio and so on. That's my plan.
So, well, the beauty is in 2021, getting the book offline and obviously in audio format, which would be sort of online because people have got to stream it, I guess. It's very good. So then if you can't make it in November and you're looking in December, what you want to then do is pinpoint a good day in that month, because sometimes we need to launch.
That's what's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, because sometimes like we can't avoid certain months when we have to do things, and that's not what it's all about. It's all about maneuvering in the moment, in the now. So, so say if you were doing it in December, you know, depending on what the outcome is, whether it be something that you want to be, want to be embraced from like the heart, or something that you want to get going viral fast, or something that you want to monetize, depending on what the outcome is you want to achieve, there are certain days that you can do. So I know you were mentioning prior to the call the 8th of December.
It was just an intuition. So I have to send it in by the 19th of November to the editor to edit. So however long she takes. So I think we were looking at the first week in December to have it back.
So the fact that you're doing it in November is good, because you started the process. It's just like the beginning of that, creating the hologram, if you will. So you're doing it in a good year, and you're also doing it in a good month. So if you want to get it in by the 19th, for example, if you gave it in on the 18th of November, so say in about 6 days, it's actually a 3-day for you on that day. And 3 is about the Empress card, which is also about blossoming and marketing, or teaching and learning. So you're writing a book to help people. So help. The 18th of November to ignite the starting of that editorial aspect could be very good, because it's like you have a good year, your good month, and good day, and it's also formulating what you're trying to achieve. So. But when people know that, and they know they say there's a deadline, and they think, if I can push it another day a little bit extra, and may just give it a bit more of power, if you will, with the energies.
Yeah. That's really helpful. Yeah. So she said by the 19th or 20th. So why not the 18th? We shall see.
20th is also very good as well. So if you need to push it for 20th, because the 20 is a 2, just like the month of November is a 2, so it's a double 5.
20th would be even better then.
So this is the beauty of what I do when I'm realigning with people. If they've got to push for time and they can't make it, there's always options that you can maneuver, because like you're saying, it's about maneuvering.
Yeah.
So we're maneuvering with the simplicity of the code, because we want people to see how the synchronicities unfold. That's the key, you know, because deja vu is all around us. Just like in the movie with Denzel Washington in Deja Vu, you know, there's the Hollywood movies, as I was saying, are always giving us signs, but we've got to move the mocking from dark and shift it to light.
I love Sliding Doors. Like, have you seen Sliding Doors? You know, where that moment when the tube train, London, the tube train kind of closes, and then you see the next scene where she managed to get on the tube train. And one was, I don't want to give it away, but one was where was one outcome, and then another one was another outcome in her life, a completely different outcome in her life.
Yeah,
and it's the same, isn't it? Like if I put it in, let's say I put it in today, which isn't ready, so I wouldn't, but if I put it in today, it might not be a good day. So I think it would be really helpful for people to have a consultation with you, a reading with you, whatever they choose to have, maybe to touch base with you first. So how can they get hold of you, Stanley? What would be the best way?
Yeah, the best, just go to my website at Zenith, ZENETH, Zenith Culture, CULTRE.com, and on the footer is all my contact details, so they can reach out through phone, through the social media handles, or send an email, or on the contact page. And so there's all plenty of ways, and that we can reach out. We can schedule a 30-minute strategy session and a discovery call. It could be either or with numbers, that is. And if they feel it's something that resonates with them, we can do readings and we can do realignments. And depending on a person's...
What about relationships? So, we're not going to get into it now, but say, for example, there's I've noticed that a lot of people are ending relationships, beginning relationships, and definitely in my client base. So if you're, if you've got a relationship and you're like, oh, I just don't know if this person's compatible, or you've just met someone and you don't know whether they're compatible or they are compatible, they're not, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? So that I've done that with you, by the way, and with Wendy will be listening to this, my assistant. So we did it with Wendy as well, didn't we? We looked at her numbers, and she's amazing anyway, but it really worked really well with her numbers. So if you've got somebody that you feel like, maybe it's someone you're employing, maybe it's a relationship you're in or you want to be in, that would be an amazing thing to do as well, wouldn't it? Or maybe you're thinking, oh, should I end this marriage or not that you're going to tell them what to do, because no one should do that anyway, because we have to make our own decisions. But it might help that person to say, oh my goodness, well, maybe it's just a little bit of a difficult time we're going through. Now I've seen the numbers, actually we really are soul connected. We really are compatible. Might help people and give them hope, right?
No, definite.
Yeah.
Relationships can play both in personal and in dating. I have one client, and he sends me a WhatsApp. He sent me literally, he's like a speed dating. He sent me 6 girls that he's looking to trying to filter through. But it's all depending on a person's school of thought, if you will. But he's doing it in a way where he doesn't want to waste time because he's a little bit older. So the beauty is, whether it be in personal relationships or like in business where people are looking for an assistant, or a CEO is looking to hire or shuffle their management around, or in human resource management, it can be applied in practically all facets. So I can help realign. And one of my target markets in LinkedIn is actually key focusing on CEOs, how I can relieve stress for them by understanding themselves, but also understanding the people around them.
Yeah. And if you're interviewing people, imagine. So, we used to use in the old days Myers-Briggs, like personality testing, but actually that's quite broad. Whereas if you've actually got, you've got someone's CV in front of you, say you're a CEO of a company, you've got their CV, you can see their date of birth. Why not run it past Stanley and go, well, what about this one? What about this one? You've already looked at it. You've said, well, they seem really good, but actually let's find out for sure if this would work as someone as being part of my team.
I totally agree. And all those methodologies of the psychometry and psychological testing, I feel in this day and age are very outdated. So people, and even recruiting and what have you, are pushing people in wrong facets. I actually do have a career code that I have not launched, but it actually breaks down percentages of over 330 careers of where people will be sort of doing. So a parent to know that of a child, and a child already innately knows what they've got to do. Once a parent can validate it with numbers, then if the parent and the child's in sync of what they're meant to be doing, you're saving so much on fees, so much on the wrong schooling, and the child's going to be happy doing what they're meant to be doing. So they're more productive, and the whole family unit's more happier. And that's what it's all about, being like what you're doing with people being on their mission. And
we need that in the
definitely
world, right? And these children coming in, my children are, 11 and a half as we record this, and nearly 13. And, they're just soul driven, they're just soul, they know what makes them happy, because I've taught them, always go with your heart, always go with something that makes you feel alive or free, or never do something, apart from they have to do education, of course, but never do something that you feel that makes me feel really scared, or not in alignment with who you are. Well,
totally
thanks.
agree.
I mean, we could talk for hours, we could talk for hours and hours and hours, but I think it's really helped people to understand the importance of knowing their numbers. And I know you've really helped me since I've met you, earlier this year, and will continue to help me. And I think it's really important, guys, if you're listening to this, it's really important to have people to support you. All your inner guidance, you've got it, but sometimes it's really good to have people that don't do what you do. We have coaches, we have people, and it's really important so that we can be our best self. So if you're listening to this and you feel, wow, this makes total sense to me, I feel like this is the next step for me, get in touch with Stanley, because he will help you synchronize the best parts of yourself so that you can be your best self and really be that shining light out in the world. So thanks, Stanley, once again for being here.
Thank you. Awesome.
Spiritual Awakener. We've really enjoyed having you, and you'll come back, right? You'll come back and tell us all about what's happening.
I always love coming back. Love talking to Susan. Susan's extremely gifted, and it's always good when like-minded spiritual scientists, so to speak, communicate, because as you're saying, we can talk for hours.
Yeah, exactly. It's been great. And so if you've got a spiritual awakening story or a turning point that's happened in your life and you want to share it with me and my listeners, I'd love to hear from you. So find me at susankennard.co.uk, and you're listening to this either on my YouTube platform or across all social media platforms, including podcast platforms. So however you're listening to us, welcome, welcome, welcome. And we'll see you on the next episode. Much love for now.